Hello and welcome. My name is Melissa Rabronia. I am a trauma sensitive healing practitioner, educator, and host at healyourheart.love. And today's guest is Christopher Lee Maher. Christopher is a former Navy SEAL and Olympic hopeful who discovered the detrimental effects of accumulated stress on his health despite being physically fit. He studied traditional Chinese medicine practices and dedicated years to research and develop true body intelligence, a comprehensive system that integrates and heals the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of individuals. He is the author of Free for Life and Navy SEAL's Guide to Inner Freedom and Outer Peace. Great book. I read it. It's basically Christopher's story and how he healed himself and about his work. Christopher has a client base ranging from sports to international politics. He has a practice in Los Angeles that focuses on holistic well-being and longevity. For more information on Christopher's work, go to truebodyintelligence.com.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hello, hello. Welcome.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent.
I love it. So let's backtrack from the beginning.
Okay.
You and I met, I believe, at the end of 2015, which was about 8 years
Okay.
ago now. And
Yep.
you came recommended, and I showed up with an emotional issue. And I still remember it. And you listened to me, and then you said, "Let's get you on the table." And I was like, "What? Didn't this guy hear me?" So then I got on the table and you worked on my feet, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
But before I even
Yes.
got to you, I was on two different body machines. One was a jade bed, and then which was
Yes.
nice and relaxing. And then I was on this like shaking machine. And then I got to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
a
yeah.
person. And then I got on the table and I felt like you knew what you were doing. But at that
Yeah.
time, I was like, why didn't this guy hear what I had to say? Right.
Yeah.
So, but I liked what I experienced. So I showed up for more. We had a bunch of sessions, and then I did some of your training as well. And I do
Yep.
still use it in some of my work. I consider you an important person in my life. And I would say a master healer. I know that's a weird kind of thing to say, but in some ways you are that. You are a master of a healing method, one that you developed, and it's called True Body Intelligence. So
Yeah.
for those who are not familiar with you, how would you describe your methodology of helping people?
My methodology, which is interesting, has a lot of contrast. It's very simple. And yet the cases that I work with are very complex,
Mm,
right? So I could be working with someone who is struggling with transgenderism, or I could be working with someone who has had a full-blown eating disorder for 13 years. Or I could be working with someone who has something very simple like every time I jump and I shoot the basketball, I come down, I have pain in my ankle, right? So I go from the very complex psychological, emotional to the very simple physical things to deal with. And so my job as a healer, as a coach, as a guide, as a teacher is to meet the person where they're at and then provide a solution that makes sense and then to teach them how to modify and further that solution so that they get an incredible, consistent life change that they can rely on. I think the thing that makes me unique, Melissa, is that I'm able to teach the person how to solve their own challenge, whether it's spiritual illness, right, through unethical, immoral, disintegrated behavior, or if it's emotional sickness, right? They're absent, anxious constantly, suffering from depression, having morbid thoughts, suppressing their real feelings and desires, having a sense of hopelessness, or they're all over the place. Or I can help someone who has mental sickness. And what I mean by mental sickness is they're unable to make good decisions, be sober and realistic with their choices, develop their own natural sense of a philosophy, and able to problem solve their own innate challenges. And then I deal with people who have physical sickness. And what I mean by sickness is a lack of intelligence. There's something blocking them from accessing that inherent intelligence that's in every single human on the planet. And that might look unable to define clear boundaries,
Mhm.
unable to communicate clearly to their own benefit, unable to take right action to their own benefit, unable to protect themselves against inappropriate attacks, or unable to heal themselves and become well when they get sick. Those are the areas where I am really more of a grandmaster. Someone who's masterful is someone who's put in 10,000 hours of energy, effort, study, and
Yes.
practice. I've put in 100,000 hours. So I'm 10 times someone who's masterful. So that's why I can work with the most complex cases on the planet
Yeah.
and produce verifiable, repeatable results every single time.
I love the confidence that you have. And I think specific clientele, they need that. Would you say that you are trauma sensitive? What that means in the trauma role is that you are very gentle with people, you offer them choice. Would you say that you're a trauma sensitive practitioner?
I'd say what I am is I'm trauma aware. And
Yes.
so I'm a trauma honest
Yes.
practitioner,
Tell me what that
right?
means.
What that means is if you want to participate, if you want me to participate in something that's outside of reality, I'll do that in order to meet you, but I'll stop that the second we meet and we're clear.
Right.
Okay. And so let's say a friend of yours or someone else you know, you refer them to me,
Yes.
and they're trauma sensitive around the volume of someone's voice,
Right.
or they're trauma sensitive around males because they're a female that had a father who was loud and also broke their physical boundaries and hit them inappropriately whenever he was angered, right? So I can be trauma sensitive in a sense that I understand where they're coming from. And
Yeah.
it's an intuitive thing that happens. I know before they even walk through the door
Right.
because all that weekend before I start working with them, their spirit, their soul, it's already communicating with me. And I have a gift called clairaudience. And so that means that the way that the universe, the way that, if you want to say God or their soul or any individual in my life wants to communicate with me, I can hear whatever their psychic thoughts are. So I already know how to prepare my body, but also how to prepare my space for the person who's coming well before they walk in the door.
Right.
And then I will alter my language. I will alter my volume. I will alter my body position
Right.
because I know exactly what I need to do in order for them to feel safe so
Yeah.
that we can build rapport.
Yes.
Yet once that rapport is established, we need to participate in reality rather than fantasy.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to have an uncomfortable conversation and
Yes.
to push back where they're feeling like they want to pull me into something as a strategy in order to avoid being present centered.
Yes.
I'm trauma sensitive to a point where we meet in rapport. Now
Yes.
we've established the trust. Now that the trust is there, we can have an uncomfortable conversation about how you're co-creating what's manifesting in your life.
Yeah.
And let's see where this comes from. Because once we have the information and we have the education, it's easy to let go of limiting beliefs that keep me or you or anyone we're helping from experiencing the life that we really want to experience in terms of how they're being. This is very different than goal setting. Coaches, they're into goal setting, right?
Yes.
Me, I'm into the way that you're being. Because if I get you emotionally present where you're absent, it's going to be easy for you to connect with others. If
Yes.
I can get you mentally present where you're absent, you're going to feel more confident making bold choices. If I can get you physically present where you're absent, you're going to be able to take right action to your own benefit and to the benefit of those you love. And if I can get you to be spiritually present where you're absent, you're going to access behaviors that are ethical, moral, integrous, and highly principled in relationship to your own set of ethics, which means you're going to start to build inner and outer self-esteem at an incredibly fast rate, which is going to change the trajectory of your life experience. And that's what true body intelligence is all about.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're a different kind of practitioner. And I don't want to say in your face, but in some ways, like you expect the person to show up and be their best and you believe in their best self.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's very, ever since I was a child, it was very easy for me to see the high qualities in people.
Hmm.
I rarely am ever paying attention to what they devalue about themselves.
Right.
And you could say, okay, he sees the world through rose-colored glasses. That's someone who's perpetually positive. I'm perpetually neutral,
Hmm.
which means I have no noise about how you're being, where you've been, or what you've done. All I care about is getting you feeling safe so you can take heartfelt action to your own benefit. And then once that happens, everyone in your life is impacted positively. Your relationship with your mom changes, your relationship with your children change, your relationship with your husband change, your relationship with food changes, your relationship with your body changes. And if we can get those relationships in right order, meaning in a neutral position, then you can start to love yourself. And when you start to love yourself and give yourself positive attention, everyone who's around you loves being around you because they feel the love is congruent versus I'm giving everybody else around me love and
Yeah.
giving myself a couple of crumbs.
Yeah.
Well, when you feed yourself, I know it's counterintuitive because the Bible teaches us help those rather than help yourself. I would negate that and say by helping yourself, you are helping others. And by
Right.
helping others, you are helping yourself, right? And so I believe in fair and equitable exchange of love and care because when I'm feeding me, I'm inspired. I'm jazzed up. Like today, I had a great day, right? So I'm on the call with you. It's after my work day. It's we could call this nighttime. It's dark out. Okay, and yet I'm excited to be here because I know that you and I are going to co-create a conversation that allows others to get more present to something where they know they're absent. And in that co-created effort, I'm excited because today I fed myself first. What did I do? I went, I had an alignment. After that, I went to the infrared
Oh,
dry sauna. After the infrared dry sauna, I went and did my red light therapy. Then I stretched my body. I did my exercise. I listened to my music. I got all myself present before my day even began. And then I gave all that positive energy that I had to the person that I work with today and now to you. And this is my second podcast today.
beautiful. I love it.
I
Yeah.
arrived 5 minutes early. I'm ready to go. I'm fed. I'm happy because I fed myself first.
Yes.
When I feed myself last, I'm getting to these experiences like we're having today 3 or 4 minutes behind schedule,
Hmm.
stressed, trying to figure things out. I'm jumping from here to there. But when I feed me, I'm feeding you. You're getting the best of me because I gave the best of myself to me.
That makes sense.
And
Yeah.
I'm giving from excess rather than deficiency.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. Let's talk about the 5 systems of TBI. There's the eye-centric strength. That's great. Body of light is the one that I still use, and thank you for that. It's so powerful.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's the heavy hitter,
It's
right?
magical, really.
Yeah, it's magical.
I mean, I've had magical experiences.
Yeah.
Can you just share a little bit about how that came about and what is it for those people who don't know?
Yeah, this is simple. So even though I look more like a rock star, I'm
You
really
do.
more like a scientist. And what I mean by that is this, is that first I put together information and then I test and evaluate the things that I'm putting together, right? So if someone teaches me one little thing, I'm going to take that one little thing and I'm going to turn it into an entire universe. To make a long story short, there's this really amazing guy named Russell Burke. And Russell told me this statement. He said, listen, all I want you to say is, I enter the love in my heart. And I thought, I enter the love in my heart. And as soon as I said it, I felt it. I was like, boom. I was like, felt all this energy. I was like, whoa, hold on. You mean I can manifest change by simply using the word? And then I remember the Bible. I was born into the Catholic tradition, and then I went to a boarding school for 10 years, which was a non-denominational church. And so they always had like 25 minutes where they're reading from scripture. And
Right.
one of the things they read is, in the beginning, there was the word, and the word was with God. And the next statement is, and then the word was God.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon now that came to my mind the moment I said that statement, right? And I felt the vibe. I was like, oh, I got it. Okay, thank you. And then after that, I started creating and manifesting through metaphysics, right? Through vibration, all these really powerful changes. And then every new person who would come to me, I would then go, okay, I need to add this element. So basically, I'm like an architect and I create these verbal algorithms that then go in and change the physics through
Yeah.
metaphysics because I'm using subtle energy to create massive change at the physical level, right?
Yeah.
So the body of light, its purpose is to create a body of light.
Yeah.
Because when I'm in my light, which means I'm in universal intelligence, that's true rather than being false, meaning it's universal. It applies in every realm, in every dimension, in all time, and in all space. Those are universal truths.
Yeah.
And as I'm in the light of that, now you got to remember, we got two things that are very powerful from God. We got love and we got light. Love brings feeling and emotion, and light brings information and data. So the body of light is to amplify your intelligence so that you can make very good decisions about who it is you want to be by transmuting the things that became part of your system that are false. See, the only thing we can do in true body intelligence is successfully subtract what's different than who it is you really are at your core. So your parents, my parents, our ancestors, all the listeners' ancestors,
Yeah.
they went through the dark ages. And
Yeah.
the dark ages were very stressful times. And we built up an intense amount of response and implemented survival-based strategies because the environments were incredibly unsafe. Now, let's go back simply 25 generations and look at what was going on in the world at that time. Think of what it would be like to be a woman in 400 AD
Who knows? Yeah.
in Rome.
Yeah.
Think about that. Then think, well, what would it be like to be a woman 3,500 years ago in Egypt or Mesopotamia?
Mhm.
And when you look at that, you have to realize that there were intense amounts of survival-based strategies that were implemented to survive our circumstances.
Yes.
And the bodies that you and I have and all the listeners have are full, filled to the brim of survival-based strategies that are operating in an unconscious, a subconscious, and a superconscious level. And so what Body of Light does is it removes all those epigenetic markers
Hmm.
from a minimum of 14 generations
Yeah. With
so that
intergenerational trauma.
yeah. So
Yeah.
then you have the ability to be who you came here to be rather than simply being a reflection of your lineage's trauma. Like we're
Beautiful.
finally in this time in the world
Yeah.
where we no longer have to participate in our parents' limiting beliefs, in their fears, in their inner deficiencies, and their insecurities. You actually get to be Melissa.
Yes.
For me, that's exciting,
Yeah.
right? Like to be able to leave this imprint on the planet and have this impact on the planet at the right time with the internet, with all of these different communities, with information available everywhere you turn, to be able to provide something that I know brings balance
Mhm.
to every situation that someone could have ever been in that was traumatizing is very exciting, extremely satisfying, and brings my heart and soul an intense amount of peace. So, body of light for me is one of the most powerful instruments that you can use to reduce your nervous system's relationship with shock
Mhm.
and stress and
Mhm.
tension and distortion. And as you reduce those levels, look, people get happy, they get present. I mean, I've had men and women come to me who are very popular in the world and have dealt with different levels of trauma, whether it's emotional, whether it's sexual, whether it's verbal. That's a level of trauma we rarely talk about. If it's psychic, and they have everything you could ever want, right? They have attention, they have financial success, they have professional success, and yet they're miserable, right? They're swirling around in drug addiction and alcohol, and they're eating poorly. And on the magazine cover, they look great. But
Right.
when you look a little bit underneath their skin, they're highly traumatized human beings, and no one's successes allow them to transcend their trauma. You have to actually deal with this stuff. You got to go into the depth of this energy and transmute it. And if
Yeah.
you can do that successfully, you can have a shot at feeling the power and the beauty of who it is you are and the reason why you were actually created. And that's cool.
Beautiful.
That's my version of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much magic that happens with Body of Light. And I mean, I remember with you and I did a Body of Light on my brother, and I wasn't speaking with him at the time. I think we took like 5 years off, whenever there was an incident that happened.
Well,
This,
just a short amount of time.
well, I think it was something like that. And literally that afternoon, he
Yeah,
emailed me, and I'm like, holy
of
smokes,
course.
like literally,
Yeah,
how does this happen? There's so many magical stories like that. It's always like you hear about it, but I'm like, it's not going to happen to me. And it happened to me too. So I'm like, what is going on? How
yeah.
is this possible? Yeah.
Thousands of those, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I've had people who were in psychic care units in straitjackets and were there because some interns had crossed some boundaries with them. And then the next day, they get a Facebook message from an intern that broke their sexual boundaries, asking, begging basically for forgiveness.
Wow.
Because once you transmute that trauma state, now you can move back into right relationship. And right relationship is loving, energetic, considerate, confident, fearless, and present.
Yes.
And if you can be in that state and all the relationships where you have challenges and issues, well, guess what? Everything about your life is wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that that was a powerful experience for you.
Yeah. So the next one is bioenergetic self transformational sequences, and that's
Yeah,
12.
that's their size.
Yeah. Basic. And they're awesome. And I mean, whenever I do them, I feel better. It's just having that discipline to do them. And I know when people work with them, you really get them to do it, and people that you train.
Yeah,
So
for
that's
sure.
something I haven't done in a while, but honestly, it's there and I always want to go back to. There's an exercise for each organ in the body, basically. It's Chinese medicine and it's very powerful. So I think it's great if you're disciplined with it. Yes.
Yeah, here's the thing about Bestler which is very unique, right? So let's say when you arrived to me, let's say you were 27 and you had accumulated 27 years of tension, stress, and distortion, right?
Yes.
Well, once we spend your first 28 days in removing that stuff,
Hmm.
it would be impossible for you to put all that back in. And so even if you took a 5, 6 month break or a year or 2 long break, 27 years of tension, stress, and distortion, it would be impossible for you to put all that back in. And so even if you took a 5, 6 month break or a year or 2 long break, 27 years of tension, stress, and distortion, it would be impossible for you to put all that back in. And so even if you took a 5, 6 month break if you spent one day going back into your best exercises, you would be right where you were when you left off.
Yeah.
It's the only system I know on the planet that works that way.
I love
You'll
that.
be right where you left off.
That
So,
inspires me. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
tomorrow I'm gonna start it because
Yeah.
it's so
And
powerful. So
what's beautiful about it is what you take out stays out.
yeah,
That's the beauty of the work in true body intelligence. And that's why I named it what I named it.
yeah,
True body intelligence.
yeah,
Because if you can get your body operating intelligently, does it manifest tension and stress and distortion the way that it used to? Absolutely not.
yeah,
What it does instead is it actually changes the way that you're relating with the moment. So you no longer manifest that kind of tension, stress, and distortion. It's a get out of jail free card for a long time. Now, look, if you choose where you're like, all right, I'm going on a bender, I'm going to Indonesia, I'm going to surf and get high and get drunk for 20 days. Yeah, you're going to accumulate some stress from those experiences because you put your body in a high state of stress. Yet once you do one day of exercise, you're going to come back to neutral immediately. And
yeah.
that's what I love about this kind of work.
Beautiful. And do you do it daily still?
When do I do it?
Yeah.
Sometimes I do it twice a day.
Hmm.
Sometimes I do it for 3 hours. Sometimes I do it for 15 minutes. Sometimes I take 2 or 3 days off. I have a relationship with my body that's very unique, which means that I've transcended rigid discipline.
Hmm.
And because I've transcended rigid discipline, I can use the work when it feels like that's what my body wants. Yet,
Yeah.
what I would tell you is that on an average week, whether it's me working on myself or somebody working on me, I have at least 8 to 10 sessions a week, right? So that's, somewhere around 40 sessions a month.
Hmm.
So I have basically 550 to 60 hours a year of investing in my body and my energy and my emotions and my thoughts and feelings. That's what makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because for me, if I'm looking at the planet and I can complain and I've got somewhat different views about everything, yet there's things going on in the world that are very triggering, right? You've got Ukraine, you've
Yeah.
got Russia,
Yeah.
you've got America, and this thing with Iran,
Yeah.
you've got Hamas,
Yeah.
Palestine,
Yeah.
Israel,
Yeah.
water bottles, like everywhere you look,
Yeah.
right? Oil issue, there's like
Yeah.
problems everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I look at that and I go, look, I could complain, bitch, moan, whine, come up with some very strong opinions that are limiting beliefs. Or what I can do is I can get into my body and I can keep refining myself. Because as I keep refining myself, it keeps pushing up all the junk for the planet up to the surface. And the
Yeah.
best gifts I can give to myself, give to my family, give to my country, give to my planet that I'm part of is to be the best version of myself. And so, rigid discipline, I started out that way because I needed to.
Yeah.
I applied SEAL training methods to
Mhm.
healing methods,
Yeah.
and that worked for me,
Yeah.
right? And then when I started working with people, I could see that, ooh, for somebody else, that's too much.
Yeah. They're
And
not
so then,
Navy SEAls.
yeah, they had that they're missing some training here, and yet I'm going after their energy in their body as if they did.
Yes.
And so I thought, okay, let's adjust things. And what I realized is, guess what? There's this saying that Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yes.
And as I started to think about that, I started to apply that to transformation. I said, oh, you mean I get less with more? And you're a musician and a singer, and you understand, like, there's times when I have my guitar, I play every day, right? And then it always happens, there's like 6 weeks where I take off because I'm busy in something else. I pick up my guitar and I'm twice as good as I was before.
Mm.
And once I started becoming a musician and I started seeing that, I started to understand that transformation works the same way. You
Yeah.
can hit it and then you back off and then you grow while you're backing off.
Yeah.
And so it's good to take your foot off the gas and you'll actually get further, you'll actually learn more, you'll actually perform better.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
And
that's been my life experience. So I applied the same thing with the people that I work with and coach. And they always look at me as if like, well, he's a Navy SEAL, so I better get it done every day. And then I get a text and it says OOOOPS. Oops.
yeah.
I wasn't able to do my best exercises yesterday. And I text him back and I go, great, cool. Would you like to start up again today? Yes. Good. Well, you're going back to day one, right? Because I want them to understand that it's important to build esteem and it's important to honor your word. And when you break your word to yourself, you lower your self-esteem.
Yeah.
So I want to honor them for choosing something different, right? Like, oh, I got to fly to Indonesia tomorrow. Well,
Yeah.
I know they could have gotten up 15 minutes early. I know they could have done it on a plane. It's like a 21-hour flight, right? You had plenty of time. Okay.
Right.
So there's no scolding.
Right. Yeah.
There's no putting them down
Yeah.
if they choose to do something different. Well, hey, look, I'm glad you chose to do that with your time. And I want you to start rebuilding your esteem. So we're going back to day one.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I did 56 days straight. Yes.
Yeah.
And you took one day to do something different. So now we're going to honor you. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. I hope you enjoyed those 6 movies. Now
The
you go
day
back
one,
to
yeah.
day
And I
one
can
because we
vouch that
still
you
want to take,
pretty, yeah, you're committed to that.
yeah,
There's a self-respecting feeling in that.
yeah, because then when you go back to day one and you get back to day 56, you know what happens? They get to day 57.
Yeah.
And then next thing I look at my phone and I'm like, they're at 856 days in a row. And then I just send them a text like, man, you are doing so awesome. And then before you know it, they're at like 1,200 days in a row. Then they're at 1,500 days in a row.
Yeah.
And now I know it's a lifestyle for them.
Yeah.
Professionally, they're having more success. Relationship wise, they're having more success. They're having a better relationship with their body. They're able to be more authentically self-expressed. They're communicating clearly. They're defining good boundaries. They're highly principled. They're completing the tasks that they start. They have access to a sense of freedom. They're being graceful. They're passionate about the things that they're doing, and they're hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all that took was like 15 minutes a day. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like that's the easiest plan in the world.
Yeah.
And so I like to stay connected and attached to people because I feel like the most important thing for someone to know is that someone cares enough to respond when they share about their accomplishment. And when they send me their text, I consider that an accomplishment. And when they're honest about making a different choice, I value that too. And I always write back, thank you for your honesty. Because
Absolutely.
I want them to know that honesty is important and you should be valued for it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
people are important. All
Yeah.
they want is love. They want
Absolutely.
love,
Yeah.
care. And what I've figured out in the last year is what they want most is consideration. They
Mhm.
want you to consider where they're coming from, where they've been, what they're doing, and how they're doing it, and to approach them with compassion.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yet be direct and honest. That's a powerful way to be.
it is. All right, let's talk about mashing.
Okay,
So
Ma
that
Xing.
one.
Ma
Yeah,
Xing.
so mashing is something that I did keep along with Body of Light when I worked with people in person. I love and hate mashing. When I first tried it, very now. And so what it is basically is you you have people lie down on their stomach and you
Yep.
are walking with your feet on the back of their legs, like thighs and
Back, front, side, arms,
yeah,
chest, upper back,
that's
their
true.
entire body.
All these different areas.
Yeah.
So I experienced myself on my own body, like, wow, it was a powerful thing. And that's another gift. And then with my own clients, like people are just like taken away. I now some like prefer to be moshed than get a massage.
Oh, for sure,
My
1000%.
body wants it. It's just such a good
Yeah.
feeling. You have these descriptors on your website, so if people are interested, they can kind of dip into reading more about each one of these.
Yeah, you can go to the website. I have like a little picture to give an idea of what moshing might look like, right? Moshing in Chinese means horse stomping. And what I do is I use my hooves. Only kidding. I use my feet.
Yes.
And in Chinese medicine, they figured out a couple of things. There's energetic channels, and then there's what they call TMMs. They're called tendomuscular channels. And so what I do is I lay down the map of Chinese meridian theory over the body, and then I work on specific channels. And I was educated to what those specific channels are connected to. Some are connected to the emotional body, some are connected to the instinctual physical body, some are connected to the mental analytical body, some are connected to the spiritual energetic body. And then the level of pain and discomfort that they have is letting me know whether or not they have a high level of intelligence in that channel or they have a low level of intelligence in that channel. If they're an internal processor or if they're an external processor, if they're highly dishonest or they're very honest,
Yeah.
because the body always tells the truth. The
Yeah.
mind will lie 1,000 lies because the mind's job is to keep you safe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? So if somebody breaks into your house and they're like, "Do you have any children?" And you're thinking they're going to kill my children. No, I don't
Mm.
have any children. Why? Well, I wanted to steal some children. I don't have any. And they run out the door. That was a very good lie
Yeah.
because it kept you safe.
Yeah.
Okay. It kept your children safe. So because the body's willing to tell the truth, once you push into it, you have to be able to translate the information that it's giving you. And so the beautiful thing is that your left body is connected to what? It's connected to your mother. The
Yeah.
right side of your body is connected to your father. The
Yeah.
left hemisphere of your brain is connected to dad. The right hemisphere of your brain is connected to mom.
Yeah.
And so the body's constantly giving me a massive amount of information around the environment that this person was raised in. And so, because I know what part of the body's connected to which aspect of their psychology and their behavior and their emotions and their energy and their consciousness and instinct, I can then begin making specific assumptions when then allow me to formulate questions to validate and confirm the information that I'm picking up. And it's always 100% accurate.
Yeah.
It's always been 100% accurate. And
Yeah.
so, what I love about the work, the moshing, the eye-centric strength, the exercise, the shocking, and the body light all together, we get to address different layers within the being. We're
Yeah.
made of multiple layers. Like, look at anyone. You got Chinese astrology, right?
Yeah.
You've got normal astrology. You've got cartology.
Yeah.
You've got all these different kinds of systems. You've got human design.
Yeah.
You've got the Enneagram, and all these systems are talking about a very
Inky. Yeah.
specific layer of the person.
Yeah.
And what I love about True Body Intelligence is we get to address every single layer so this person can be truly free and grow into an amalgamated being. Someone who's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and environmentally intelligent.
Yes.
And imagine if we have 100,000 to 1 million people on the planet walking around that way. It's a better planet for everyone.
Yeah.
Like it's a win-win across the board.
Absolutely. Yes.
Ma Xing is one of those tools, and the reason why I love it, because there's nowhere to hide from the excessive amount of sensation that you're going to feel, because the sensations that you're feeling are letting us know the limiting beliefs that you made up and exactly how you operate. Because I'm going to do an investigation first, and then I have to confirm, are the things that you told me true?
Yeah.
Well, your body tells me the truth.
Yeah.
And if what you told me is different than what the information that I'm picking up, then we need to have a more sober conversation about some details you may have left out.
Right.
And sure enough, when I get into the moshing, there's some details that they left out. And I have to go, oh. might it have been important for you to let me know
Yeah.
that your brother threw you off the roof?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Because
never
it's all in
thought
the
about
body.
it.
Oh, yeah.
It's part of, well, you broke your leg,
Yeah.
lower leg, you broke your hip, and you broke your foot.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that is important because what's funny is, for me, is people think that mentally, once they've forgiven their
Yeah.
sibling,
Yeah.
that the cost of that poor choice that the sibling made with their sister is suddenly gone.
Yeah.
It's gone mentally.
Yeah.
It's still there physically. It's
Yeah.
still there emotionally.
Yeah.
It's still there energetically. The mind can never transcend physical, energetic, or emotional trauma because it's simply there for tracking data and information.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with transmutation or transfiguration or change or transformation. It's
Yeah.
there to track data and information.
Yeah.
And so the body always tells the truth, and moshing will always guarantee you that you know the truth about your own history, and the person you're working with knows the truth about your history because wherever you have pain, you have absence.
Yeah.
Wherever you have pain, you have absence. If I dig my thumb into your shoulder and it's painful, there's an aspect of your boundary that's absent. If I dig into your quad on the outside, there's a place where you're absent around your relationship with food. If I dig into the back of your hamstring, the short head of biceps femoris, which just means the lateral hamstring, the back of your leg, you have three big muscles, the one that's on the outside and the back. If I push into that and there's a lot of pain, I know you're incredibly dishonest. You've got things to hide.
Yeah.
And so the more you use the mashing to pull out, to strip down, and to push out the excessive stress and tension and distortion that's in all those soft tissues, the easier it is for a person to be themselves and the more confident they become in their life choices.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, absolute sense.
Yeah. It does. It makes sense. I was going to call this and I a conversation with Christopher, how to heal your tissues.
How to
They-
heal the issues in your tissues.
Yeah. So they say issues are in your tissues and with all the true body
I
intelligence.
made that up, by the way.
Did you? Okay, great. I love
Yeah, of course.
it.
Almost 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how you heal the tissues.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. So when you look at the tissues, we could say it like this: the psychological, emotional, energetic issues are in your tissues.
Mhm.
And so wherever you have pain, you have disconnection from your authentic self. And I see all these people in the world and they're seeking and they're meditating and they're reading books and they're going to sit at the foot of this guru and da 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 da. And look, you can do that. I'm sure that has some value. Yet, none of that, no green juice that you sip, no 10-day Vipassana, none of those things will ever remove the issues in your tissues.
Yeah.
You have to take that tension, that stress, that distortion, that stagnation out. And once you do, it's out.
Yeah.
Now you're free.
Yeah.
And what could be more valuable than freedom, right? To know that you actually are at choice around every aspect of your life. That for me, that's powerful. And so Ma Xing, for the listeners, this could be an enormously powerful tool for you
Yeah.
because once you experience your own internal pain at the depth of what that pain really is, there's no unknowing that. And at least you know it's there, and then you can take it out a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. Before you know it, you got a body that feels really comfortable. Like, look, I'm going to be 60 soon. There's no pain in my body,
Yeah.
right? There's comfort and pleasure.
Yeah.
I had a body at 29 years old which was full of pain constantly, and here I am, you know,
Yeah.
27, 28 years later, still feeling great
You talk
off of
about that
that.
in the book, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So tell us about Shocking. Um,
King.
yeah.
King's interesting. You know, it was introduced to me. This would be 2013. Very interesting guy invited me down to New Orleans, and I'm going there next week. So it's funny, of course, that this has come full circle. It's been a long time since I talked about it. And I went down to meet this guy who was a scientist and did a bunch of research in Africa around this form of medicine they called shaking, shaking medicine, right? But if you break the word Sha and king apart, it's two words, right? So Sha means spirit, and then king means spirit medicine, and then king means the supreme. So I call it the king medicine. And the
Mhm.
reason why I call it that is because they want you to shake out of syncopation, which means out of time.
Yeah.
Where usually, let's say you and I went to the disco, right? The beat's
Yeah.
going and we're
Yeah.
dancing
We're dancing to the
to the
beat.
beat, right? We're dancing to the beat. Well, in shocking, they're doing the opposite of that. You're staying as best you can outside of the beat, making these non-syncopated movements, which then breaks up the rigidity around how you think, how you breathe, how you move, and how you perceive. It's absolutely genius.
Yeah.
And they have record in Africa of using this method for 60,000 years, the Kalahari Bushmen.
Wow.
60,000 years. When someone got sick, they had a form of shaking medicine that they did. 60,000 years. It's the
Amazing.
oldest form of medicine that we know.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Very
it's very, very profound.
cute.
And the good thing is, it's free.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
healers are expensive.
Right.
Shocking can give you powerful transformation. And I love it because it's a tool you can use in the privacy of your own home, in your own timing. Everything that I've created and have been a part of, the thing that I love about it most is you can do it all in the privacy of your own home.
Yeah.
You can do your body light at
Yeah.
home. You can do your exercise at home. You can do your shocking at home. And if you spend 20 minutes a day using these three tools
Yeah.
for what, 30 days straight, you're going to notice that you're a different person. But here's the fun thing. You're going to get unsolicited feedback from people who meet you, like your sister. Maybe she hasn't seen you for months. You're going to come in, she's like, Katie, what have you been doing? You look great. Katie's gonna go, what have I been doing? This is weird. My sister never says this kind of thing. Because when you're on the vibe, when
Yeah.
the energy's flowing, everybody recognizes it, everybody feels it because it makes them feel better to be around you. What could be more amazing than that? And so you're going to get unsolicited feedback. And that's going to be very, very, very powerful.
So you have programs on your website where people can purchase online programs, which is great. And so how
Yeah,
can people work with you?
it's simple. I have
Yeah.
a very specific process that I put people through. First, you have to buy the book.
Yeah.
You have to take a risk
Hmm.
with your own time
Hmm.
and with your own resources. And you have to put in a few hours to read this book. And if you're willing to read my book, Free for Life, A U.S. Navy SEAL's Unique Path to Inner Freedom and Outer Peace, I'm willing to have a 30-minute conversation with you about how I could help you in some way.
Yeah.
And maybe the chances are that personally, we never worked together, yet I'm going to give you some information that I think will be valuable for you, or some steps that you can take, or I can point you to some other people that I think can help you. Or what you can do is you can buy that and choose to never call me and talk to me. And you're like, I'm hyper independent. I got this, buddy. And you decide, I'm going to purchase the 8 stepping stones. When the 8 stepping stones, I give you 8 specific body of light transmutation around physical stress, emotional stress, sexual stress, separation stress, like 8 different forms of very powerful integration that you can use again and again and again. And every time you do a body of light, you shed another layer of shadow, right? And now you become more light. Then you shed another layer of shadow. You do that 15, 20, 30 times, you're going to be beaming. And when you're beaming, everything in your life gets easier. It's ridiculous. It's
Awesome.
ridiculous how profound the changes are. And look, some people, they're lazy, right? If they get it through at one time, it's good for them. But if you're somebody like me or somebody like Melissa, and you're really focused on transformation and you've dedicated your life to it, take a small risk
Yeah.
and go through the 8 stepping stones in your privacy of your own home by yourself and you're going to create some really profound experiences for you. And then I give you 8 modules of deep education that's going to help you get more present. So it's very exciting.
Yeah.
These are exciting times for me.
Yeah. And then people can also work with you.
People can work with me privately, but
Yeah.
in order to do that, you have to read the book first.
Yeah.
And then you organize a call through my assistant. You email her at support@truebodyintelligence.com. And then she gets back to you immediately. Christine is great. And then we get set up on a 30-minute call and we see if we're correct for each other. Because I would love to add value to your life, but after we talk, you might go, oh, well, I think I was looking for something different.
Yeah.
And so I'm willing to serve you. You will get something profound out of those 30 minutes, I promise you.
One last question, Christopher. You introduced me to human design. And
Yes.
what I liked about it is that you were so serious about it, where I tend to just, I'll try something on. But now it's a big part of my life.
Yeah.
I give readings and it's like I tried to get away, but it just keeps coming back. So now I'm in. And so thank you for that. And do you
Yeah.
still use human design in your work? I'm curious.
For me, it's essential that I know someone's human design
Mhm.
chart and I read it. And this is the reason why. Because let's say I had a non-energy type. So for you listeners who know nothing about human design, I'm going to give you some basics. You have energy types and you have non-energy types. You have emotionals and non-emotionals. You have people with strong immune systems and weak immune systems, and yet people with strong, well-defined egos and people who are open-hearted. So when I look at someone's chart, I'm looking first to see, are they emotionally defined? Because if they're emotionally defined and I'm investigating them on the first day, I know that they're retroactive in how they process information. So I need to leave enough room that they can tell me more information on day 2 and day 3.
Right.
If I'm with somebody who's emotionally open, I already know that they're present centered around their own experience.
Mhm.
And so the information that they give me is pretty accurate, right? If someone's a non-energy type and I take them in the room where we do the work and we're doing intense physical work and I take them too far, I know when they show up tomorrow, they're going to be exhausted.
Yeah.
I know if I have someone who has a massive amount of energy and I choose to never exhaust that energy source, I know they're never going to be open enough to get the real change that they really need. And so the thing about understanding human design is that every human was designed for a very specific purpose in a very specific way.
Yeah.
And the way that they were designed gives them advantages. And the places where they're open in their chart, they are here to learn from the world around them. And so the more you know about these specific layers about yourself, the better equipped you are to make really good decisions to your benefit around your time, your energy, your resources, and your skill set.
Yeah.
And so what I tell people is no one is above their design.
Mhm.
And either you're operating as you were designed or you're being the exact opposite of your chart. And so the work that we do in True Body Intelligence is to simply get you to be your design. Because if we can get you operating as the way you were intended and designed to be functioning, wherever you are in the world, you're creating harmony
Mhm.
because you're being you.
Yeah.
The problem is, the challenge is when people have trauma, they become the opposite of their design. And instead of creating harmony, they create chaos.
Yeah.
And rather than being in a chaotic world, I want to be in a harmonious experience.
Yeah.
And so human design in my form of work is essential
Mhm.
because once I get people operating correctly, making the right decisions in the way they were designed to make decisions, their success level goes from novice level to master level.
Mhm.
And now they're creating the real impact that they want to create. And that's what I want to be involved in. people that are operating the way they were designed. Because when you're doing that, life is easy.
Yeah.
Life is so easy. And all you have to do is implement these details that they give you, and it all makes sense.
Yeah. It resonates for
Yeah.
me. I mean, I came off the
Yeah.
roof last year as a line 6, and everything's just coming together,
Hey.
coming off the roof. It's like, whether I like it or not, here I am, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, this is beautiful. And you're emotionally defined, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
6'2".
And you also, I think you have the 45-21 as well.
Yes, I do. Yeah. We have the same
Yes,
channel.
yes, you actually have the ego and the emotional center.
Yes.
Yeah, which makes you a very powerful manifester,
Yeah. I
right?
have
Because you can be
people.
sober and direct, and
Yeah.
you can be emotional and thoughtful and caring.
Yes.
And so it makes you very dynamic. All the people who work with you are so lucky.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you, Christopher. Lovely to have you as a
You're
guest.
so welcome. Yeah, it was great. It was great just hanging out with you.
Thank
I
you.
had a lot of fun.
Me
I
too.
love sharing. So
Yeah.
this, we're both transpersonal beings. So what's if we're going to get and co-create something, we want to create something that's to the benefit of other people. Well, thank you for inviting me. One, listeners, thank you for listening. And this was a powerful experience. And I'm so glad we had some time to just to vibe out
Me
and
too.
to connect and to share.
Yeah.
That's feels like the most important thing to me in this time of my life.
I'm glad. Thank you, Christopher.